Let me get a mic check. Mic check.
Mic check, mic check.
All right.
1, 2.
Yeah.
It's like we almost forgot how to use these things, man. Hey.
We all right.
A month to do things to you.
Yeah.
A month off. It's been about a month, right? Or a little bit over.
Yeah, something close to that.
Right.
Something close to that, yeah.
Shalom.
Yo, what's up, fam? How y'all doing out there today?
What's the word? Shalom.
Oh, it's good to be back from a little short hiatus.
Yeah, right.
Abarigati. On the move.
Yeah, man.
What's happening?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, actually sometimes, when you take those breaks like that, it's good for the soul. It's good for the spirit.
Recharging.
Recharging. Let everything else start soaking in. Let the viewers do what they do. The people that listen to the podcast or just come back to the channel and listen. I was talking to this guy like maybe a month and a half ago, and he was like, he don't put up videos like that anymore. He said what he's put up should be enough for them to carry on. But me personally, I would say, you should do something at least if you're not going to do it regularly on a regular monthly basis or every week basis, do something every 6 months to keep even if you want your viewers to be involved or stuff like that. But if you think you put out enough, you put out enough. I don't think we haven't even touched. I don't think we really touched the surface of certain things. So
right.
That's why I'm like, we got to get back in here and let's do some things.
I mean, for the most part, everybody was getting to know who we were.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what we were about. So hopefully the viewers have captured that. And if not, you get another opportunity to learn about fourth principle.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Man, it's a lot happened. I tell you.
It's been some things that's happening.
I'm gonna tell you, man.
The last 35, 40 days.
Yeah. So
give or take.
Yeah.
A lot of synchronicities.
Yeah, some surprises that I didn't see coming. It's like, wow. One of the channels that we normally visit or listen to.
Barry.
Yeah.
Did he pass?
He passed away.
Yeah,
Barry passed away. What's the name of how you say giving voice to the wisdom of the ages?
Yeah.
For those who've never watched it, it's on YouTube. He passed away. I think the channel actually went down, but I went to look for it and there's a backup channel.
Right.
But it doesn't have nearly as much as the information that Barry had. The library that he had of spiritual books and teachings. Whatever your perspective of belief, your system of belief is, he had it on there. From channeling to Christianity to Gnosticism, everything spiritual. He collected books and he read. He had such a beautiful voice. He had such a calming voice.
Yeah.
And he passed away. So
man, he did his
purpose.
mission.
That was his purpose.
Yeah,
he just loved to read.
Yeah,
he just loved to give back to the community.
Goosebumps, bro.
Yeah, likewise.
Maybe he'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
And that's our topic.
That's the topic for the day.
That's our topic for
Death,
today, man.
or what we call death. I think it was a few weeks ago I posted we're born into death and we die into life.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a good saying.
Yeah,
very good saying.
We're gonna
especially if you start understanding that.
Yeah, we're gonna quantify that.
Yeah.
On this show, or try to share a perspective of it. As always, nothing we say is here for you to say, "Oh, that's what it is," because no matter what we say, there's always going to be another way to say more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Which I'm finding, man, there's a the unity in speech is there. Everybody is more or less saying the same thing.
The same thing.
Just in the likeness according to whatever path they've been given. And
it takes a certain level of awareness to even get to that point of seeing it. because when you stay in a certain polarity, a polarized perspective, some people call it 3D, but it's really seeing things in duality, a right and a wrong.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard to see that.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck in, or whoever's in that state of consciousness, they're stuck in my way is the right way and the best way.
Right.
So of course, if you have a best and only, that means anything that's not like it is wrong.
Right.
And that's very separating.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
very limiting too.
Limiting, yes.
Which that's all good. You know, that's just what it is for that space of awareness.
For that space of awareness. Right.
Yeah, man. So what's good, man? What y'all want to talk about when it comes to death? What y'all brothers got?
Man, it's a lot, man. I think it comes down to understanding what death is
Okay.
And understanding what death isn't.
and what death isn't, the after death and before death.
You know, it's pretty unique that you're saying that, because I've noticed just, you know, prior to this last quarter of the year, I've seen like several different transitions
Come on.
for souls,
Right.
right? And in the crux of all of that, right, there was like it was some hurricanes and stuff going on. It was like it was some natural disasters and stuff was going on. So
Right.
that rhythm of the earth was doing what it was doing, right? And different soul ties either were fulfilled, right? And you know, people were going to the next level. You know, or you know, it was time to capture the next lesson. If
Right.
you know,
Right.
Do you think we need to explain soul ties?
yeah, let's get it.
Yeah. Before we go directly in there, because it does correlate with death. With the understanding of the soul ties us all together.
Yes.
So, you know, you in a place where all of us come at one moment and one time to do certain things, you know, sometimes we go out behind each other in a soul ties. So sometimes a soul family or soul ties come in, and they may be born probably maybe what you think? Maybe 20 year span of each other, and but they still on that same
Anywhere
timeline.
from the same day to 20 years.
To 20 years,
Right.
Yeah,
maybe 20 some years, something like that.
They soulfully they remain at the same gate,
Yeah, yeah,
the same gate of entry,
right.
which I think that that's the point of, you know, you cross from the point of unity to the point of learning or separation that you've probably agreed or
Right.
you know, created or whatever the case may be, to find your way back to the point of unity.
Right, right.
I was reading something earlier this week, and it was saying that each one of us are essentially 6 people away from the next soul group. At least that's how I understood it, right?
Okay.
And like the way I kind of captured that is a lot of, you want to call them sages, people that, you know, they vibrate on a certain type of frequency. You know, they communicated like, okay, well, you are a combination of the top 5 people that you interact with on a daily basis.
You posted something like that.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Right.
And a lot of us don't really, you know, just, you know, take a step back and look at the experience and look at the grouping that you find yourself interacting with the most.
Right.
Look at the aura, the energetic complex, you know, the experience that you are capturing with these souls.
I keep hearing in my spirit, you know, the class that you're choosing to attend.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we could say the group or the class of people that you you choose to align yourself with on a consistent basis is the class or the lessons of life that
Right.
you're choosing to learn. And these are the people that's going to help you or present the mirrors that you need to see aspects of yourself through them.
So they would be a social memory complex
Right.
of their one class, and
That's right.
they lean to one polarity,
Okay.
right? Probably
I know we've explained social memory complex. So for those who's watching who hear words that they're not familiar with, you might need to go check the other
Videos.
videos.
Right.
Social memory complex.
So I'm glad you brought up class, because within a class there's a school.
Yes.
So you're connected to the school also.
Right.
Maybe not just your class, but this school. And then you may be connected to the community.
Yes.
Each one of them have a different thing when they come in, or soul ties or soul groups.
Right.
When they come in, the school is set up to do this.
Right.
Then the class is set up to do this, maybe
Right.
something totally different, but you're still in the class.
Okay.
And each class, and this is the thing I've always gotten to is when you get married sometimes, they may not be in your soul group, but when they marry you, they become part of your soul group at that time.
At that time. Right.
And then you become part of that, their
Whatever
soul
they have
group,
going on,
whatever
right.
they got going on. So you have to be mindful in certain things when you're doing certain things for the purpose of the class.
Yes.
So when you're here to do certain things, this group has come here at this particular time to do this. Spread understanding, knowledge, or whatever it may be. But you got to realize you may be connected to another class. And
funny.
you still have to look at their understanding of certain things too.
It's funny you say that, man. I was watching something on Dr. Phil yesterday, and it was a cat. He said he was a cyborg from the year 2050.
Oh, I saw that too. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, bro. It
Well,
might be. I don't know.
I mean, what he was saying, it's like, okay. He's like, well, he said he was from the year 2050, and he was like, I've come to spread a message. Like that's my, we're here to spread our message. You know what I mean? And he was basically saying things like, well, the humans have got it all wrong. They think this, right? But we're here to show.
Laugh.
We're here to show them the way.
Okay.
This is what he was saying, right? He had movements like a,
Yeah, he
like
was-
a robot.
it was interesting.
Okay.
He and to the point of the class, right?
Okay.
Clearly, there, he says that there are others like him that are here,
Right.
to
As you would say, well, all praises.
All praises.
All praises.
I get it. Oh, and so when we're talking about these classes or people that's coming in as a soul group,
yeah,
sometimes you may lose a person in the soul group.
Yes.
So, and then you might lose another one in the soul group within
Months. Or a couple years.
couple of years, maybe
Days.
or something like that. And I know, and when I understand it and I saw it, and I can go back to when my mother passed, and I think that everybody that passed within those 5-6 months, because I knew at that time probably 6 people that passed,
yeah,
and I would say that they were a soul group. They was here to, whatever reason they were here for, they set forth whatever they done, and it was time for them
to go.
to move on within that soul group. And I'm like, and it's interesting that I know, every one of them. It was like, they were family anyway. And at one point in time, they weren't family, but in getting married and stuff like that, that's how
everything came together.
Come together, and like I say, they all passed within that 6 month period.
6 month window.
Window.
Yeah, period.
and
window.
that's normally how it happens, right? Like for the purposes of that advancement cycle, right? that those are the rhythms, the ebbs and the flows of the of soul entry and extraction. Like they all be in those groupings,
Right.
you know, together. From what I've seen anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, y'all waiting on me?
Yeah. What you gonna do?
It's I was still in the place when you talking about the class and like how you might be here and then you may attach yourself to someone else, whether it's through marriage or certain relationships, and then you bring new energies or a different energy that adds to well, it can only add to. It doesn't really take away. It adds to the dynamic of what you have going on. It's almost like you're in school and then a teacher called you to assist to do something over here, but your task at that moment was to go do this, but now you have to sideline and now you have like a special project.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's understanding that everything is connected and everything is for your growth.
Right.
Whew. So I guess we have to go before and after to the best of our ability.
Before death, after death.
Before death, after death, which is technically one and the same thing.
Which is one and the same thing.
Right.
And I'm basing things off of my spiritual communication with what we would consider non-physical beings, those that are deceased. Also, from certain books, I have them here. I'm going to call out some of the names of the people who wrote them, but also speak a little bit about what's in them. And then at the very end, we could remind me to go over the name of these books again.
Right.
So these two are the same authors, but you have Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian L. Weiss, MD. He's a psychiatrist, and he pretty much started, doing hypnotic suggestions, and eventually it seems like it always starts off this way. They're doing hypnotic suggestions to help somebody overcome some type of habit, and then they kind of go, if it's possible, too far back, and then this person is identifying as somebody completely different.
Right.
And it talks about past lives, but also as he's done this for thousands of people, he started seeing patterns that are pretty much similar or the same. And then on top of that, he was able to get into a space where he can get between lives or between incarnations, or what this soul was doing before they incarnated in a physical body, in a particular physical body.
Right.
This is a really good book. If anybody wants to, he has several books. And the other book I have is Same Soul, Many Bodies, again by Brian L. Weiss. And the title is exactly what it says. Same soul, many bodies. So that's the name of this author. And like I said, I'm going to go into some of. I'm not going to tell you the exact stories, but what the principles of these books are. This is Memories of the Afterlife. I haven't read this yet, but the author, I bought it so I can remember his name, is Michael Newton, PhD. Also, someone that was trying to do hypnotic regressions and went back to the in-between, which we would call before incarnation or after an incarnation.
Right.
And it's Many Lives, Many Masters is the actual excuse me. That's the one I bought for you.
No, you talking about Journey of Souls.
Journey of Souls is the actual first book that he wrote that I read.
Yeah,
and that captivated me. That was the first wholesale in between live book that I read, or memoirs about that. Another person is Edgar Cayce.
Yeah, I was bringing up
Anything Edgar Cayce, it gets into the spirit, the soul. This particular one is the story of Jesus, and it's talking about the soul that people know as Jesus or Yeshua, and how he's been, like just like you and I, been through many different incarnational cycles all the way to the beginning.
right.
And finally, I don't have one of her books here, but Dolores Cannon.
Right.
She was a hypnotic suggestion therapist, and she also came up with her own system of therapy or regressions. I think it's quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT. and she's considered like the godmother of hypnotism.
Yeah.
So
I will listen to her today.
going on, I don't know if anybody wanted to go or you wanted me to kind of like get the gist of like the different understandings of pre-incarnation, post-incarnation.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we can go there.
So the reason why we're bringing this to you, the audience, is like we said in the hiatus. I have family members or connections that have people that passed away, including you yourself. You've over the last year, me over the last year personally, and it's knowing that I'm in a different space when it comes to the topic of death or what we perceive as death, and then seeing other people go through it, like a heaviness, a grieving, a fear of death, and even though it's something that's inevitable as far as we know it to be in this realm, right? And it's like, well, what is causing this fear or apprehension about this thing? And I know in the East, India and certain places, they're actually traditionally anyway. I'm not speaking about a lot of it's modernized, but traditionally they were taught from the youth growing up the understanding of there is no true dying. Right. So It's not a fear of it. It's like when you get into your older age, it's more of a preparation and welcoming the shedding of this old vehicle and moving into the spirit and possibly picking up a new vehicle. Right.
I think a lot of our understanding that's in the West really comes from a religious base of religious doctrine that has been put forth to put fear in people sometimes, which is, I don't teach people to fear anything. But some people teach death as a fear-based tactic to get them to do what they do.
And I think that it even it drives a hypersensitive it's a hypersensitive mechanism for self-preservation. So like, you got to do all these things in this because you might not have all this time. Right. So you gotta work so you can get a good this and a good that, and you gotta put yourself through so much, right? Just for a temporary extension, or where you make a decision really to close yourself off from the living. You feel what I'm saying? Right. So it's like several religious epochs have really cultivated, the awareness of the human being to not really understand the divine aspect of existence. Right? The more pervasive thing that we attach ourselves to are the material recognitions of this experience. So, I gotta get it, and that's what equates to living. Right? Not necessarily, captivating an awareness in, okay, well, this is a mission that I've been on. Right? This is my life's purpose. And I've been working on this for years and years and years and years. Right, you might tap into that when you go into the astral state or something like that, and the astral state is nothing more than you essentially you wake up in the other realm. Right. Many souls, different bodies. Right. It's just as real as when you come back to this realm.
Or a dream. What we consider a dream is just as real as when you come back here.
And you haven't. We're not coherent in awareness, right? There's a huge gap where, all this stuff is happening in this other realm, right? You're not really picking it up. You're not, you don't retain the memory, you don't retain the information, right? And you come back over here to this realm and it's like, dang, okay, well, what happened? Why did I go there?
Right.
Just to add, I had a little things to what Malaki was saying. It's also a form of it's how can I say? I'm gonna say a form of control, which builds upon the ego which the ego tries to keep you here.
Right.
It's more. It's not necessarily shooting you to truer spiritual endeavors. It's more of being more in the physical. So going back to the religious institutions, if that institution controls your idea or understanding of what we consider life and death, right, and then they can get you to a place of believing this is your one and only life or opportunity to get it right, whatever right is, right, and we are the givers of the way you should live.
Right.
You know, the more good things you do, we can bless you, and maybe in your blessing you can live longer. Right. You see what I'm saying? But if you don't do it, what we say, you know, this one life, you lose it. Right. And it's the end. It's the end. And then to reinforce that, we have concepts of heaven and hell. Yeah. And we might, if we have opportunity, we get into what these things really are. Right. To our understanding. Yeah. But and then you have the not political world. That's not what I want to look at. We live in a capitalistic society. So if the concept of this one life, you know, YOLO, you only live once. I got to get it. So it goes back to what you said. I got to work hard. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's more for getting this quick. I got to experience everything before it's over.
Right. But you know, again, man, like if your perception turns from a lack of understanding to analysis, right? Mm-hmm. I would encourage you to say, well, you know, why aren't you dead in the other realm?
That's a good question, bro.
When you go there.
Yeah. First
of all, you got to believe in the other realm.
I mean, well,
because most people are not thinking about another realm. They're thinking about heaven and hell.
I got you,
which is another realm. But they look at it as a good realm and an evil realm.
It's to me, it's a disconnection from an awareness, right? Because if you've ever dreamed before, right, you know, if what people say about, you know, their control over, you know, what is supposed to happen with the soul, right, based on a place that you've never been, right, you know, the same should hold true in the other realm when you go there. You know what I'm saying? Logically, like, you know, if I take how people analogize this, right, it should follow in other places.
Yeah. So that's interesting, though. That's a good one. That would be a good question for someone. But like you say, some people don't even believe that in a dream state they're somewhere else. Well, where are you?
I'm just dreaming.
I'm just dreaming.
That's the word to dismiss the what that really
what is
potentially could be. Information that's been given to you. You know, it could be premonition in the dream state. It could be anything. Yeah. You know, but because we're not, it's more of a living for the other world. We're living here now to attain some future blessing or whatever the case may be, when you can actually attain that here.
Exactly.
But you have to do the spiritual work. You have to balance your what we would consider the physical or metaphysical, or the physical and spiritual. Mm-hmm. It's work. Yes. And we've talked about it on other podcasts. You know, you have to do the inner work. And as you do the inner work, you can attain your peace or your equanimity here, which prepares you for when you transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Soul group. Because you have soul groups, soul families. It gets real.
I mean, yeah, we could talk about those.
Okay.
We could talk about the soul group.
So,
excuse me.
A soul group, right, can be groups of entities. And when I say entities, I'm talking about fractals of souls or souls that have agreements to incarnate in certain lifetimes or a lifetime, and they have assignments towards each other or for each other in that lifetime. It's like and even though we remember when we say things and we give dates like, you know, anywhere from 1 year to 20 years, that's just a spectrum.
Right.
It could be more than that. Like one person could actually be a grandparent, and you got the newborn that lives from
Exactly.
from birth to like 5 or
Right.
birth to like 10, and that grandparent impacts that person just in the right way to give them the stimulus that they need to move forward in life as that person transitions.
Right.
But they were somebody or a soul that they had an agreement is like, listen, I'm going to be here. I'm going to set this, make a path. So when you get here, I'm going to impart these things to you.
Right.
And I'll always be there for you.
Exactly.
So in that always being there for that person, you remember, man, I know I was young, but I remember my grandfather, and I really loved that man.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
how old were you? Well, I was just 5. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, man. I just remember the things he taught me, and that memory is what keeps that person going to be the best version of themselves in life.
Right. Exactly.
That's a part of a soul group. And then you have other assignments, or we would say sacred contracts. That's another word that you might hear in spiritual circles. Sacred agreements. Like we have sacred contracts.
Right.
You know, our wives, our extended friends, those that were part of our assembly, we had sacred agreements with these people that were supposed to last to a certain point in time or for the rest of our lives or rest of this incarnation.
Exactly.
So that's one way soul groups work. Another thing of another manifestation of a soul group could be actual tribes and nations of people.
Right.
That things they as a collective go through together.
I think you should expand on that one a little bit more, because
Okay.
I think that one is it's more pervasive, and it's I think that it's more recognizable for people who
I was gonna say quantify what you mean, so I could.
so for an example, right? We've had discussions about, let's just say, the people of color.
Okay.
Right? There is a certain experience that people of color are they just haven't escaped from it at this point in time.
Okay.
And then you got people, that are not people of color.
Okay. All right. So, wow, you had to load me up.
That's
right
a
there.
deep one, bro.
It's heavy, but I pray that the Most High give me the right words to articulate this to touch whoever's watching, and I want to say speak very carefully, because I know what I'm saying is not the end all be all to what I'm about to say, but it's just it's what's been given to me.
Right.
So a lot of things that we're dealing with now goes back to in eons of time.
Right.
In the physical realm anyway. But it's spiritual things that's happening that's playing out in the physical realm. So I'm just gonna keep it in the paradigm that you say. People of color, right? The soul is not restricted to one type of body. That's first and foremost.
Right.
And I gotta speak a little vague while being a little accurate. That's a paradox. Fourth principle. So you have people that govern this planet at one point in time. We're not gonna go into what they look like. We're just gonna say people that govern this earth at one point in time. Entities, beings, angelic beings, and so on. In other realms that we would consider different planes of existences could be accessed at will. You know,
Right.
and I know it's gonna be all types of people watching this. Whenever this gets out to whoever it needs to.
I'll give you a term for that.
Go ahead.
The corporal and the non-corporal.
Yes. And one could even say etheric, which is a mixture of both.
Yes.
So this world actually existed etherically or spiritually in thought and mind, then etherically, and then more physically.
Right.
And as we get more, if you say descend in vibration or become more solid, then different realms that have to maintain what we call etheric and spirituality, they started to fade from the existence, from physical existence, because the nature and character of the consciousness fell.
Right.
So it was decided by higher powers to separate the realms. So you had initial groups that were here that governed things. All the while, other souls have been coming and going to this planet to help right? And at some point in the annals of time, we call it the fall. We call it a war in heaven. We call it all these different things, or we could just say it was a fall in consciousness that other entities started coming that had other experiences in polarity, and they brought those experiences here. And the beings that were here were susceptible to the influences of these other beings, which started a real schism in more of a I don't even know equanimity. This is a real word, but equanimity. Everything was in equanimity, balance. Hey, I'm gonna make up words, and if you understand what I'm saying, it's a real word.
It's a real word.
So the equanimity was disrupted, and it caused more catalyst. Mm-hmm. So think about it like this: if you knew everything was taken care of and you were good, would you strive to be better?
No, you wouldn't. It would be no need to.
It would be no need to.
Right.
So everything was amped up, so to speak.
But isn't everything good?
Everything was amped up. Cain, yes.
Yes.
So these entities or energies were brought here to increase the catalyst. So what you have is certain states of consciousness and awarenesses that are influencing something else. As we would say, love, light, and negativity started to become more polarized.
Right.
Yeah.
And it started manifesting in people.
Right.
As we see them now, but we are descendants of different groups of people. So what happened is, let's just say these short people were invaded by these tall people, right? Mm-hmm. And these short people were subjugated by the tall people. And in the subjugation, the tall people flourished. And the short people started having a lot of hate or anger about it. Now, I'm going to give you an understanding of divine karma or karma, action. As these people started dying off, the short people's souls, in order to get balance for that hatred that they have, they would start manifesting in the birth cycles of the tall people.
Right.
So in time, you have souls that were the short people that were the tall people subjugating the short people.
Right.
And you had the tall people, when they started passing on, they were evolving as souls as the short people. So all souls get to experience the exact same thing that they inflicted on somebody else.
Right.
And it's somewhere along the line that you have to decide not to hate, whether they're tall or whether they're short. We're just people.
Which, if you bring that to the material side, right, you reap whatever you sow.
You reap whatever you sow,
right,
in this life or the next, and it's not a punishment.
So that means that, you know, before anything happens in this realm, it's already transpired in the spiritual realm,
which goes to soul groups and soul ties and decisions and choices and planning that's made in the spiritual realm to play out in this physical realm.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's different ways to conceptualize that. We're just giving it in a story form.
Right.
So going back to your initial question, and I'm sorry if the buildup was long-winded, we descend from people that had certain guidelines or certain what's the word I'm looking at? Proclivity. Proclivity is a word, brother. Look it up. Look up the definition and read it.
Okay.
I know it's a good one. That's what I'm saying. Look up the definition. We had certain proclivity, and we had certain what's the word they use in the scripture? Mashal. Governance of the planet.
Right.
And we allowed things to happen on this planet that caused imbalance.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So from that allowance of things to happen, now we have to balance it. We're in a karmatic cycle of death and rebirth.
Right.
Or karma.
Right.
So we can work out our dharma, which is when you work out things that are, they would say, positive. Mm-hmm. But these are the things that you do that you really realize you don't have to come back and do that anymore.
Right. Exactly.
So it's playing out as souls becoming what we consider people that look like us.
Right.
And people that look like other people. But really, we've actually been in both roles.
Exactly.
At some point in time.
Right. So with saying that, somebody in your soul family could be, let's say, a Caucasian person.
Absolutely.
And they're in your soul family right now.
Absolutely.
Right? And you do now. I don't want them to get it messed up. Like that's how it automatically is.
No,
because some souls want to experience just being.
They stay in the same bloodline,
or what have you.
Some people say
do.
my ancestors.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but not getting away from
the lesson
that you're supposed to keep while you're here.
Right.
Because, like you said, that person that may have called you out your name, he may be in your soul circle.
Right.
Just giving karmatic issues back so you can learn,
work that
or
out.
they can learn.
Yes, absolutely.
So
that's where the term proclivity comes into play.
Go ahead, talk to me.
Because basically, what happens is you have a certain inclination or a certain tendency towards a specified behavioral pattern.
Right.
Got you.
Right. So we call those predispositions.
Right.
Right. So let's say like I don't know, you like to play video games a lot. Mm-hmm. Right. And that could have been very pervasive in this soul group.
Right.
So the next one might have a tendency to play video games, and the next one might have a tendency to play video games.
Right.
So in something that we call the scriptures, it talks about curses.
Yeah.
But curses, you have different understandings of different schools of thought.
Yeah.
Curses could be perceived as a pattern behavior that is non-productive or miscreating in your life. We talk about trying to create for the highest good of yourself and the highest good of all those who are connected to you. And if you move away from that, you miscreate.
And see, man, come on. And that's again, man, like begets like begets like.
Yes.
That is the rhythm of the soul.
Right.
Right? Everything begets of itself.
Own kind. Yes.
Of its own kind.
Yes.
Right? That is an established, undeviating principle. It doesn't matter race, creed, it doesn't matter none of that.
Right.
Right? What you put in what you put in the earth, or what you
put an apple seed in the earth, it's gonna grow an apple tree.
100%. Because that is the divine order.
That's the divine order.
And what we sometimes gloss over is that you don't necessarily escape the provisions of being attached to divine order.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Your awareness may suffer a gap. Mm-hmm. Right. But the factual basis is that you are that.
Yes.
You are both sides of divine order.
Yes.
Right. And how you conceptualize that, either through the negative polarity or the positive polarity, right? You still gonna learn today.
Right.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Ooh, give me a sec. I got crazy energy in here.
That's the thing, man.
So going back to the analogy of the short people and the tall people, one could say, well, these tall people came from somewhere else and they subjugated these short people, and they ruled like out of fear.
Right.
Where the tall people only knew how to govern out of love.
Right.
I said the short people only knew how to govern out of love. So over time, it became a patternized behavior, and also the mingling and the subjugation caused these people to shift and started hating. So in the cycle of life and birth, and it's trying to balance these out, because now, remember what I said, everything shifts to polarity, a right way and a wrong way. So one would say the tall people were so evil.
Right.
And the short people, these people didn't deserve that.
Right.
But what happens when that same soul comes back as a tall person, and because they haven't healed in a certain type of way, and they carried over that feeling into the spiritual realm, they're like, man, I need to go back and make that right.
So let's take that point right there, right, and tie that into the concept of death.
Okay.
Because during let's say prior to the point of transition, right? You hold on to these things.
Yes.
You don't let them go.
You don't let them go.
Exactly. So, these are probably good indicators that you have to repeat the cycle.
Right. I want you to finish your thought.
Go ahead.
But it goes back. All this that we're talking about ties into when we said you have to do the spiritual work here, because during the time of transition, contrary to popular belief, folks, you carry you still exist.
Right.
Your hurts and pains and things that you've gone through still exist during that moment.
Exactly.
And your fears. Go ahead.
And I'll prove that. Right. You know, thoughts that come back to you when you go to the other realm, they've been cycling through the consciousness throughout the course of the day.
Exactly.
Right. So you'll deal with those issues in dreams.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's the uniqueness of dreams, right? Those are the communicators. Well, it is the communicator, right, to the material faculty.
Yes.
Right.
Now, if you gain awareness, you'll retain the information.
When you come back from the dream.
Yes.
And you start analyzing and deliberating and doing the work.
That's why people, you know, there's a lot of theory about how you can retain awareness in subsequent realms. Right? You can count your fingers. You can, you know, because we have such an attachment to what's material, right? A lot of times it's the more easier way to gain awareness, right? Until you are coherent.
Acclimated and
Right.
coherent, right?
You know what I'm saying? You'll get to a point where, you know, you'll start inducing certain dreams, right? Or start inducing a scenario where you're going to work through the thought patterns that keep you captive.
Right.
Now, whether or not you do that prior to a state of transition, that's on you. Right? That is completely up to you.
Right. And also remember, it carries over in the spiritual realm, but even in the physical realm, it's loaded within your DNA.
Yes. Information.
So you may move on and may want to come back as, let's say, a Chinese man. But within that Chinese man, in his DNA structure, he still have issues from his family that went through something and their traumatic things. So it's in his DNA when he comes back, or what they want to say, reincarnated. When he comes back and he's dealt within another society or different people, he has other things to deal with that he went through in another in someone else's culture. And when he comes back in this new culture, that whatever they went through is still in his DNA. It's in his blood. It's in his makeup now.
Right.
So now he has to deal with all of that. So when you're talking about coming back and death and all of these things, we're all dealing with the same issues. We may not look at it that way, but we're dealing with the same issues. You may not be able to see it and comprehend it. And if you think, and you're saying that these tall people, they come back as the short people DNA is still inside him.
Yes.
So, and when that short people die and going to the tall people, he's still bringing that karma from the short people.
And again, it's so the things that we're trying to bring forth right now, it's so vast because the combinations of sequences,
Right.
Like you said, the tall person could reincarnate. We could say reincarnate as a short person, right? But the information that he has as a tall person still carries over. Even though he's in the short person, he's living whatever the experiences are of the short person.
Right.
He may have certain resentments to himself.
Exactly.
As the short
Come on.
person.
Right.
Based on what he was living as a tall person.
Right.
That's
Right.
why we see a lot of people in different communities that have self-hate.
Right. Exactly.
It's
Come
not
on.
just because of the situation.
Right.
It could be something that they never they dealt with in a previous life when they really hated
the person
that they have manifested as now, or the soul, the bodies that they've manifested in now.
Exactly.
So you'll find yourself always amongst a group of people that their primary focus is hate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
in some way, shape of hate of self, hate of others.
In some shape, form, or fashion.
Other selves is what I like to say, because we're all aspects of each other.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you hate, that's why it says when you heal someone, one person, when you do a good thing to one person, you've done it for all.
Right.
Right.
And
Facts.
that's why there's such a a heavy emphasis on the work of forgiveness.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Because through the mechanics of forgiveness, man, you actually unbind your own soul.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
And everybody else's. So you unbind certain things. When you heal from something, your children don't have to go through it anymore. When you heal from whatever the tall people did to you, when you heal from that, your children are healed from that.
So that healing, it's a word in Hindu tradition, which is one could call, it's called dharma, which I mentioned earlier, and it's right way of living and path of righteousness. That's what dharma is. And I would like to add to that, it's creating.
Right.
It's creating.
Exactly.
Because creation is mending, healing, and moving forward.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
coming
That means-
back because
right.
you feel like it's something that you didn't learn or you need to evolve past as a soul.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's why we come back. And not only that, that's one reason, but another reason is to help others.
Right.
It's to do service.
To do service. Someone is always here for you to help.
Yes.
You're here to help somebody. I don't know who it is, but it's somebody. And it might be more than just somebody.
Somebody's
Right.
Selves serving other selves.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
That's exactly what
So let
it
me
is.
ask you this right here, right? Why do you think we have such a hard time with death?
fear.
Fear. Yep.
Fear of what is perceivably the unknown. Fear of loss of the self. Because we're so attached, we can't imagine or we can't conceptualize. And I say this, I'm not speaking of everybody. We can't conceptualize not being here.
Right.
This is it. This is
Right.
all I know. I've worked so hard to be, I don't know, a CEO of this company. I have all these possessions. I have my family. I have my vehicles. I have whatever it is that you can have in the physical realm.
Right.
You have come to believe or have convinced yourself, or you have even been taught or led to believe that there's nothing after this.
Everything that you cannot take with you.
Everything that you cannot take with you. It's a
Right.
paradox.
Right.
We're fear of dying, but we all got to go.
You know what? I like something that you told me like years ago, right? And sometimes my Isha be getting on me about it too. She was like, why you don't drive your truck? Well, I'd be like, well, I don't like putting miles on it,
Right.
right? And you might come back and say something like, well, it is meant to be driven, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I had an issue with people like that because they're always, because I drive my car.
Right.
I drive my car.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll drive it anywhere. They say, well, I might go out of town somewhere. Why you just don't rent a car? Because I'm paying for this car and I'm going to drive it. I enjoy driving this car.
But I think that's the point, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the fear is man, I'm not going to get to enjoy all this stuff.
Right.
Man.
Right? Well, yes, you can.
Yeah.
And, enjoy it every time you get in it.
Right.
Right? It's like, oh man, the seats are nice. It's the color is bright. It's not fading.
Because these are the only seats. These are the only seats.
Yeah. Right?
That's interesting, bro.
These are the only pairs of shoes or nice clothes or whatever, man. You gonna make up.
You make up a story,
Right.
to justify the attachment to it,
Right.
and that's an aspect of the egoic self.
Yeah.
Right.
And remember, the ego is not bad.
Oh.
The ego is a tool and a device,
Right.
to ground you here,
Exactly.
but also the ego causes suffering that takes you down, that can take you down, so that you can seek moving back up.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you tell the listeners for people that are working through obtaining more understanding about death or transition, prior to you getting to that point. One thing that we talked about in our little chat was like just being more intentional about loving the moment.
Loving the moment, yes. Without attachments.
Without attachments.
And that's really, it's hard to, even the word attachment carries a connotation. Like if you say, yo, you shouldn't be attached to anything. What you mean? My kids, my children, I love them. And yes, you should, you're supposed to. But I'm going to be frank, they're going to die.
Right.
Well, you're going to die. I'm going to die. Everything that's physical matter is going to transpire at some point in time. Your glass, your favorite mug and your favorite glass, it's going to break. It's just a matter of when. What did they say with the motorcycle? If you ride, you gonna fall.
You may fall.
Oh, I can attest to that.
I can attest.
And for those who haven't fall, you just ain't fall yet.
Yeah.
Right. It's just coming. Unless you get out the game quick.
Right. You had something to say. I think you're about to say something.
Yeah. When we're talking about that death, right, or death, right. Some people just think, that's the end.
Right.
But I would say no on both ends, because energy does not die, cannot die. It goes forth. Now, when we're talking about the body does the same thing. It's still energy. It's just low vibrational energy.
It transforms.
And it transforms back where it says go back to the earth or to the dust or whatever, to the ground. And it becomes the earth, which is still energy.
It goes back to its elemental form.
Exactly.
Right. So it's a shedding of the physical and allowing the physical to return to whence it came, which is matter.
Right.
And you go to the non-physical because the soul is non-physical.
Right.
Right. There was something I was going to say that you I can't remember, but it'll come back if it's important. You asked a question, like what
yeah.
What would you tell someone?
Like, what would you tell the listeners, right? The people that are
I remember now.
Yeah.
Stop fearing.
Instead of using the word death, we use transition. You transition from one state to another. You transition from a physical to a non-physical state, but you're still aware. Right. Now, what would I tell the listeners to do?
Or what would you recommend? Like, how would you?
I recommend.
How would you encourage them?
Face the reality that all things transition. Anything that's matter transitions to something else, as well as the physical and the spiritual.
Right.
And to get comfortable with death, to get comfortable with the understanding of it, and not fear it, because fear, actually, by holding on to fear, it causes the transition to be, if you want to say, I don't want to say painful, but hard. That's where we get the concepts of lost souls or wandering spirits or things of that nature, because a person is so attached and so fearful that when it's time for them to transition, they actually don't go. They stay. Yeah, and they're they're in the lower astral, lost.
Right.
So it's really understanding and preparing and teaching that, this is an aspect of life, and embracing it. That's why it goes back to living the moment, embracing each moment.
Right.
Embracing, if you get in an argument with someone, and you reflect, you're like, wow, I'm still here to even have this argument with this person. How can I make this right? Because that argument, even us being here right now, I am so grateful and thankful, right? Because we can all, after this podcast, we can go our separate ways. That's what they live for. They call them debaters. They call, so it's embracing these things, the physical things, and understanding the physical things, but at the same time being flexible enough to let go. Don't be too attached to things. Even planning something, leave room for something could happen, and you just have to go with the flow and go the other way.
And sometimes when you're attached to a person, sometimes that even can stop them from transitioning all the way.
Yes,
because your memory of them keeps them there.
Your grief,
right? Your grief, and they're there to help you,
right? Because
they're your soul group,
right?
They're there anyway,
right?
But now you have created them to be like on your shoulder, per se, instead of just being out here and guiding you to certain places.
So I deal with my group, Reiki with Angels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do classes and lessons about like crossing over people. Like people that may be lost or whatever, you call them Archangel Michael or whatever particular angel, and you ask them, of course you build rapport with that soul, and you ask the angels to cross them over to the other side. So typically, from what I understand, when a person transitions, there's like a 7-day window that they stick around to see if everybody's okay. And there's a book, I think it's called the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Bro, you teaching me something right now. I know that part.
Yeah, and it's also in
like
that book. It's also in that book. And the book, 444, snapshot.
Right.
What's the book? This book. It's called Embraced by the Light. That's the one I bought a couple weeks ago and read it like in a couple of days. Embraced by the Light by Betty J. Eady. She passed. She had
what was her name?
Betty J. Eady.
Say it one more time.
Betty J. Eady.
Okay.
Wonderful book. This happened. It's a true story. Happened in 1974. She had a near-death experience, and she went to the other side while she was on the operating table, and she pretty much. It felt like years for her in the spirit realm, where she went through different aspects of, if you want to say heaven, the reason why we're here, and all these different things. Read it for yourself. But one of the things she says, doing spiritual work while you're here actually helps the transitional period. So when you do cross over and you have that 7-day window, you're completely aware of what's going on.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And it's a two-way street, going back to what Joe Kane said. I'm talking fast because it's a lot, but I'm trying to make it real quick. That person's connected to you. They transition, but they still hold on.
Right.
So let's say they talk about the tunnel of light. They choose not to go because they feel like they haven't done everything they need to do.
Right.
Or they don't even realize they transition.
Right.
Because they didn't do any spiritual work. They were just so work, so into this physical realm. So it's different reasons why people don't cross over, as they say, completely. So there's a 7-day window. And also, if you teach from your children about death or the transitional cycle, when it comes that time that a loved one is about to transition, they can let them go in peace.
Exactly. And love.
So when the person transitions, it's a 7-day cycle. Everybody's having a celebration of their life versus a mourning of their death.
Right.
And some people are like, no, why did you leave me? I need you. That soul is there. They're there.
Right.
Everybody in the past 5 years that's had somebody transition and they're like, my mom's gone or whatever the case may be. I always ask them, do you believe they're gone?
Right.
And they're like, well, I don't know. I ask, have you seen them in a dream, in a vision? They're like, no. Do you want to see them? I love to see them. I said, well, before you go to bed, just pray and ask God to allow you to see them.
Right. Exactly.
In some cases, not all, some people say, oh, my mom came to me and she told me she's okay.
Right.
Or one of my brothers, he actually saw his wife's mom standing by a tree watching. Right. So it's different instances, different ways that we can help each other.
Exactly.
By letting go.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not just you holding on, it's everybody.
Right.
So it's a communal thing in learning about what this transitional period entails.
Right. That's interesting, because we'll get into ourselves and into our egos, and when we're picking out stuff for the funeral and stuff, we thinking we doing it. Bruh. That's her or your mom or whoever it passed. Them the ones they picking out that stuff for them. They the ones like, no, go this way. They moving you right to what they want or whatever it is. You may be thinking that you doing it. Nah, they there. Like you said, hey, they already there for the 7 days.
They are there, yeah.
Now within probably what you're gonna bury somebody probably within that week. Mm-hmm. So if they're still there, they pick that. They know what they want. Mm. They exactly know what they want.
I think
they're always here. The thing is, they're always protecting you. They're always directing you. Now, you have a choice to do certain things. They can push you to this way, but that don't necessarily mean you're gonna go that way.
Right.
You do, because you do have a choice. But they're your soul. They're your soul group. They know what they know exactly what you're here to do.
Just remember, we always got to remember too, there's polarity to these souls.
Exactly.
There's the ones that are creators, and there's the ones that are miscreators.
Yeah.
And the ones that are creators, sometimes they stay. The ones that, so to go with what you said, they're always here, right? You have the ones that, because of their assignments, and they do move on, they're allowed to come back and be spiritual guides and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
There's that. There's the ones that didn't cross over and are lingering.
Right.
That's a whole different conversation.
Whole different.
And then you have the ones that choose not to go, that are mischievous or miscreators. You have that too. So just be clear. Just be clear. But yes,
Yeah.
everything continues.
Exactly.
Malak, you had thoughts? I seen you looking at your watch, so I'm making sure we flowing good.
No, man, it's just I was just thinking about it, man. I was thinking about everything.
Yeah.
You brothers was saying, and it's I feel like you gotta make time. You know, there's time to be made to contemplate on these things,
Yes.
right? Because you can miss it,
Yeah.
right? You feel like you got to do everything, and I'm guilty of that sometimes.
We all are.
I just get in the rhythm, right? And it's like, dang, yeah, but having this conversation about this, man, it's like, I can't say personally like I'm in a space where I fear transition and nothing like that,
Right.
You know what I mean? Because my life has been one it's been full of learning.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen shoot, I'm a partaker of ebbs and flows. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's all good. And I think at this current stage in my life, the spiritual work has a lot of value. Right? There's a lot of value to that. And the experience I'm having is shaping itself, you know what I mean, for me to continue and advance in that work. For whenever that time is, for me, it's all good.
Right.
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 So when I want to go back a few ticks. So when I say they're always here, they're not like here all the time.
Right.
They may go,
Come and go,
but then they'll
yeah.
come. Oh yeah, because you might. Like I was listening to some stuff this week about it. Man, it's been. But anyway, talking about it, when you're talking about these soul ties or these soul groups or these people that's in your soul group, when they come back and guide you on certain things sometimes, you might, the person that's gone, they might love shiny things or pennies. They might leave pennies around and you be like, how that penny get there?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But that's the sign of letting you know that
I'm still here.
Yo,
I'm
I'm
still
here.
with you.
I'm
Yeah.
still with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here.
Or you might even smell their scent.
It might say it exactly.
See, but
stuff like that.
Everything you talking about is cultivating awareness.
Yes.
And you have to be there.
You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta learn. Well, you ain't gotta do nothing. But I would encourage anybody who's listening, right? If you haven't yet, take it upon yourself to cultivate awareness.
Right.
Awareness will always precede change.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So, as you become in tune with certain things, you allow your awareness to grow.
Right.
You have yet another opportunity to advance.
Right.
Spiritually. Let me say that. Advance spiritually.
A good movie to watch, viewers, and hear me clearly. A good viewer to watch to get you. It may not. It's a good beginning point of getting a conceptual idea of how that transitional period what it looks like, or one aspect of what it looks like. Go see the movie Soul.
Right.
Go see the movie Soul. It talks about the lower astral, upper astral, what we consider the heavenly realms, and so on and so forth. How souls come back, all of that. The movie Soul, is that Pixar?
Pixar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pixar. When I saw that movie with my sister, what was that word? We were flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Right.
We were like, who wrote this?
Right.
Because all these books that I mentioned, it had aspects of all of that stuff in there.
Right.
You know? So definitely it's nothing to be afraid. It's nothing wrong with mourning and grieving, going through a process, because
Right.
we are here to experience that.
Right.
However, when you get to the point that you lose yourself in grief, to the point that you may transition, or you don't eat, or you don't,
Right.
that's an imbalance.
Right.
You moving into an imbalanced state. Or you may also be choosing to transition yourself.
Right.
You know, the stories of, you know, a person that's been together with another person for umpteen years, which could be a soul tie, a soul connection, a soul family. And then one person passes away, and then in a week or so, or a month or so, or 2 months, the other person just loses their will to live. Sometimes we may not realize that will to live may have been bounded up
With that.
with the other person, and that was their purpose of being here, was for that other person. And on a higher conscious level, it may causes that will to diminish, so they could go ahead and move on.
Oh, right. Right.
So everything plays out the way it plays out for
And
the highest good.
I would even think like in scenarios like that, they probably reached a point of unity.
The
Like-
souls.
Yeah. You know, they reached a point of unity, and it's like, you know, it is done.
Cohesiveness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give thanks.
Is any, well, I didn't really, go ahead.
Well, what I would like to say, right, is let's start understanding death, what death is. That is not this spooky thing that I know a lot of us been taught it is. Start embracing it and start teaching our children. I mean, as soon as they can understand it. Trust me, they already understand it at that age. They just can't talk about it.
Right.
They're not able to talk about it. But they understand it at a certain age. But we have to, but in a certain age too, you start to forget things, some of us, not all of us. So I would say, let's start teaching our children not to fear it, but love it and embrace it when it comes down to we losing other family members, and allowing them to leave instead of trying to hold on to them when no, it's time for them to move on to go do something else, to learn something else. And more likely, a lot of us may not even understand that they may come back in your family
In your
again.
family, yeah. Depending on
When
how
you-
advanced with soul they are, yeah.
Right. So you might get to a certain age and that soul may be reborn back into another, so you can give the information to this person
Or they come back to give it to you.
or give it
Right.
vice versa.
Right, vice versa.
However you want to get it.
Yeah.
Let's just stop fearing death, understand it. Now, like you said, Adon, you know, you can mourn, you can do your thing, and I know all of us are not like that. Some of us take death different than
Right.
others. You know, me, I'm totally different, and especially now as I understand it and have wisdom upon it, I really don't get into certain things that other people may do.
Right.
Even when I was a younger person in my 20s or whatever, death to me, I didn't do certain things like everybody else did. I mean, I would see people crying. They would be doing it. That's not where I was at with it. Now, I don't know why, but where I'm at now, I can see, maybe I understood something. My spirit says, no.
That's not
we
real.
don't-
That's not as real as it seems. It's not
right.
what it is, right?
Right. So, but now as I really got the wisdom on it, I really don't get into certain things
Right.
like that. So, but I understand certain people still have that fear base in it, and they may not understand it. Like you say, the fourth principle, we're here to express certain things and to give things out to people in love and how we understand it. Now, you may not accept it as that or want to accept what we say. You don't have to.
Right.
Maybe it's not for you at this time. You know, I've expressed certain things to certain people why certain things happen. And, you know, and their next question is, well, why would somebody want to do that? To learn, to understand it.
Why would someone want to jump out of a hang glider? Why would somebody want to bungee cord off of a cliff? Why would somebody want to free climb rocks with their bare hands and no support, no safety? It's a lot of things in this world that we can ask the questions why. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
And people chooses it to happen on some level.
To experience.
And
like I say, when I talk to people, it's always me. Why we're here, people ask me why we're here. We're here to express and experience the will of the Creator. It's simple to me.
Which is love.
And that's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. Just remember, let me say it like this. If it's those people that are watching that are in fear-based belief systems, whatever that may be, and you have to do the inner work and ask yourself questions, you know, am I afraid of dying because I don't know if I lived a good life and I might go to hell, or I did a good life and I'm going to heaven, and all these different things.
Right.
The bottom line is what you believe here from this understanding, you carry it over to the next realm. Right. And you create that for yourself.
Exactly.
So concepts of heaven and hell are actually, we say the lower astral, but the lower astral just represents a place where souls go that have, I'm trying to find the right words to say it.
They got development.
They have development issues.
Yeah. They still need to develop.
And it's a choice to go there. So it's kind of like if you transition and there's a light and there's an angel, an angelic being, or a family member say, "Come on, I'm here to take you over," and you're like, "No, but I gotta take. It's things I gotta take care of," and they're like, "Come on." Guess what? It's not that they go away and the light goes away. You stop seeing it because you're now turned your back and you're looking at whatever it is that you've created in your mind that you need to take care of or fix. Right. Or you may have addictions and you go to places that you used to, they say haunt the joint, but places that you used to go to when you were living, because your consciousness is still carrying over the things that you desire.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So these beings, your archangels, guardian angels, spiritual support team, as I like to say, they just wait.
Yeah. Because you got the choice.
You mean you can't see them, but they're still there, and they're waiting for you, which it could take what we consider on this side minutes, hours, years, or decades.
Right.
In what we call time.
Right.
But over there, it's
1 moment.
It's moments.
And I like to reemphasize that the higher self, it always presents you with opportunities while you're here.
While you're here.
Right.
While you're in this physical realm, yes.
They're called dreams and visions.
Right.
Right? When you have them.
Come on, prophet.
You know what I'm saying? When you have them, pay attention to them. Mm-hmm. Right? It's one of the only times when you can communicate or you can connect uninterrupted.
Wow.
Yes. And also, just adding, if you are, I don't like to use the word spiritual develop, but if you have the abilities or the gifts to, of seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, in some cases, tasting and smelling, you can experience non-physical reality.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you'll see things that other people can't see. You'll hear things that other people don't hear, and you'll just know things that people would just, where'd you get that from? You just know.
And this the thing, man. We've experienced it.
This is from experience. Yes.
This is not, we're just talking out the blue.
Yeah.
No, we experience these things.
Yeah, because we spiritual beings.
Right,
we all are.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all spiritual beings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of you coming to know yourself.
Doing the work.
Right?
Doing the spiritual work. If you're a Christian, then
All praises.
all praises.
All praises.
Do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work. If you're a Muslim,
Do the work.
Do the work. If you're a Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew, do the work.
work.
If you're a Jew, do the work. If you're a Hindu, do the work.
Yeah. Buddhist.
Jainist,
do the work.
Buddhist, Taoist,
Zoroastrianism, all of it.
do the work.
Do the work.
Because ultimately you should attain a certain level of awareness to where you start realizing that the work is one work.
Yeah.
It's one work.
One work.
It's only the physical aspect of it that causes the separations. But that other aspect of it, it brings everything together.
Right on.
So, and just remember, transitioning is just new beginnings. It's never really a true ending. Because we're all part of the one infinite creator.
Right. Facts. You want to give them them books again
Oh, yes.
before we roll out?
Again, Many Lives and Many Masters by Brian L. Weiss, MD. The True Story of a Prominent Psychiatrist, His Young Patient, and the Past Life Therapy That Changed Both Their Lives. Mm-hmm. Also by Brian L. Weiss, MD. Discover the healing power of future lives through progression therapy. So you have regression and you have progression therapy.
Right.
This one is Memoirs of the Afterlife, but you could also get this. This is by Michael Newton, PhD. But another book that I definitely highly recommend is called Journey of Souls that he wrote.
Definitely check that joint out.
It's a beautiful book. It really, when I read it, it's like it just resonated with it so much. It's like it almost felt like reading my memories or something. Like I've been there before. Right. That type of thing. And that gets into past lives, possible lives, as far as and this is a whole nother conversation, but what is it called? Not alternate realities, I guess, but different versions of yourself that made different choices, and that your one soul is dealing with all this. But anyway, really get into that one. That was a pretty good book. Again, that's Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, PhD. Any book by Edgar Cayce, he talks about past lives. He talks about the soul, Emilius, that ultimately became Yeshua or Jesus.
Right.
And I also another book that kind of she mentions Emilius is Ruth Montgomery. But I can't remember the name of her book. But look up any of her books. Ruth Montgomery. She did a lot of books by automatic writing. And Dolores Cannon.
Right.
What was it? Between Life and Death? I think that's the first one I read of her. Whew. And all of these books that deals with these matters, it's almost the same thing, just different people, different levels of when they talk to these souls and these spirit guides and masters or whatever on the other side. It's at different levels. So a soul may experience something that's very similar to another soul, but depending on what level that soul is at in their soul's evolution, it's it would seem like a different version of the same story.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's nothing to fear except fear itself. Anybody got anything else? I mean, we probably could have went so many different places with it, but I think this was this was pretty good.
We hit home on this one.
Just so y'all know, we don't sit down and rehearse none of this.
No.
We just let the spirit flow in this place.
Let it go. Exactly. So with that, fam, we see y'all hopefully next week, man.
Yeah, most high willing.
No.
We'd like to thank you for watching and tuning in. We know that the Facebook is sometimes low, but it's crisp and clear once Zokane puts it on YouTube. And also you could do Spotify. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us.
Hey.
Shalom, shalom.